Well, welcome today to today's Lunch and Learn. It's our Ivanhoe International Center. And for those of you who have not met me yet, I am Shelley Granagri, Director of Alumni Relations here at CARA, the Center for Alumni Relations and Advancement. Before we start, a few housekeeping things. We are recording today's Zoom, and it's going to be uploaded to our CARA YouTube channel. It does take us a day or two, so give us a moment as we get that uploaded for you. I want to encourage everyone to use our chat function. Hop on, say hi, let everyone know who's here, your major, your graduation year. How to use that chat function is just go ahead and click on the little word bubble and make sure that you change your replies to all attendees so that it doesn't just go to us, so everyone can see that you're here. And if you have any questions today for our speakers, please put those in the Q&A section. And at the end of the presentation, they'll have an opportunity to answer those for you. So I'm going to start off the chat today with my email. Again, reach out to me if you're looking for any alumni events in your area. I'd love to help you get that started. And then I also have to follow my own rules and make sure I give this to everybody. And with that, I would like to welcome our guest speakers today, Suzi Aadland and Beth Riley. Suzi Aadland is the director of the Ivanhoe International Center at South Dakota School of Mines, and Technology, or South Dakota Mines as we're known now, and has been at the university since 1989. She has a master's degree in administrative studies with an emphasis on intercultural communication from USD and a BS degree, her bachelor's degree in business administration from Northern State University. Suzi has lived in Rapid City, South Dakota since 1985, and she grew up on the northeastern side of South Dakota. She enjoys spending time with her family and friends, and playing at the pool, golfing, traveling, and baking sweet treats for students to enjoy. I bet they love that. Beth Riley has been the assistant director of the Ivanhoe International Center at South Dakota Mines for the past 12 years and grew up in Sturgis, South Dakota. She started at Mines in 2008 after returning from Japan, where she worked for 11 years as an ESL instructor. Beth earned her master's degree in Student Affairs Administration from South Dakota State University with an emphasis on international student development, along with a Bachelor's of Science degree in geography. She enjoys gardening, working on home projects with her dad, and traveling to various places on her bucket list. Suzi and Beth work with the international students and scholars, our international enrollment management, education abroad, and our international university partnerships. And with that, I would like to welcome both Suzi and Beth.
Hello, everybody. It is great to see you here. I'm guessing some of you who were here during my tenure, since I've been here since 1989, might recognize my face. At one point, I was over in the library. Oh, I just saw Connie Giroux pop into the chat, and so I remember Connie well. So I was over in the library for quite a few years, and now I'm over in Surbeck, the lower level of Surbeck, since 2004. So great to see everybody here. So I'm going to go ahead, and we're going to have a couple of students joining us too, Kushi and Jacob. Kushi is an international student here, and Jacob has done an education abroad experience, and we'll let them talk about that in a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, just kind of explain a little bit about the Ivanhoe International Center for those who are not familiar with it. So I'm going to go ahead and start my screen sharing, which is going to look weird first because you're going to see the same ones, and then I'm going to do this. There we go. Can everybody see that okay? Give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. So we're the Ivanhoe International Center. Beth and I are the only two people in the office, but we work with a bunch of people off campus as well. So basically what we do, we develop and support activities and programs for international students and visiting scholars and staff, and then anything for students who are interested in global experiences and education abroad. Translation is we do everything international in our office. And so if it has something international to do with it, we are usually either aware of it or we were working with it. So really the highlight of this profession is helping people learn about other countries and cultures, but mostly to learn about themselves and their own culture. Learning about other cultures help us figure out who we are and how culture influences us. We use them to have developed activities that help us identify and explore some of those influences, like children's stories and what is considered polite behavior in other cultures. And we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. So the other thing so with our international student services, we'll start with that. So we work with students from the time they inquire about the School of Mines until they are on optional practical training, or OPT as we call it. We have a lot of acronyms in our office, and even alumni. And so we are in contact with a lot of our alumni now, and doing some outreach with them as well. So we're continuing to do that. Of course, when students get here, they need an orientation to campus and the community. And there are a lot of federal regulations governing our international students. And so Beth and I are very well versed in that aspect of our jobs, as we have to be, because one mistake can be life altering for these students. So we make sure that we're on top of that. We also help to retain them, adjust them to the area and the culture, and help them make personal connections. And so making personal connections with you as alumni is very important as well. And then of course we have some cultural activities, and we'll talk about those too. And then we work with our career services office really closely, and we have sessions where we help students with their career searches, finding internships and co-ops, finding long-term jobs, and helping employers understand the ins and outs of that, and helping our students understand the ins and outs of that, because there's a lot of complexity to that. And then of course we help with our various student organizations. We also collaborate, since it is just the two of us in the office. We collaborate with community groups. And for those of you who are not aware, there's a group called International Students, Inc., or ISI. We have several of our alumni who are actively involved on the boards of that. I know, I don't know if Scott Kenner is on here, but he is one who's been on the board for a while, and a few others as well. And I'm sorry if I didn't name you there, but there are a lot of folks who help with that, which is fantastic. They help us. They do airport pickups. They do them, and students do them, and they help pick up students at the airport when they arrive. They help us administer the Friendship Partner Program, and I know Kushi is planning to talk about that a little bit when it's her turn to talk. They help us with cultural events, because two people doing large cultural events like the Cultural Expo, many of you might be familiar with that, tends to get a little overwhelming with just two. So they have a great volunteer network that is phenomenal, and they help with that tremendously. And then they have weekly activities at the ISI house. So a lot of our students are very, very connected to folks at ISI. They have the Friday night dinner is huge. So students, free food, gotta love the free food. So students go to that pretty frequently on Friday nights and connect, and there are often anywhere from 75 to 100 students at that event on Friday night. So that's a great option, or a great opportunity for our students. So just to kind of give you a quick overview of the picture of the students on campus. So this is what we had in fall of 22. So our largest group of students is from India, and then Bangladesh, Nepal, and Nigeria. And we'd like to see it more at 50-50%, but we do have a higher number of graduate students than undergraduate students. So that's pretty common in the past and at other universities. And so this is the total of what it looks like. So we had 119 students from 36 countries. And I put the past up there because you can see, especially in the last couple of years, how the pandemic affected us. And so you see that fall from 2019 to 2020, that steep drop in there, because we basically got less than half of the number of new students in that particular academic year. And even in fall of 21, it was pretty low for a number of students getting visas to come in. So that has affected, but it is starting to come up. And then for those of you who are around, I actually have numbers going all the way back to 1980 for the number of students who were here. And you can see in the early 90s, we were up to almost 300. And then we were down under 100 at one point in time. And that was shortly after 9/11, unfortunately. And then it started coming back up again. And so it's been up and down. So just to kind of give you a picture of what it looks like. So the events, I promised I'd talk about that. We are having the Cultural Expo in about 2 weeks. And so if any of you are in the area, it's the food and entertainment is on Saturday, April 1st. And we encourage you to come to that if you are in the area. So we hope to see you there. And we found out, and I'm sure many of you know who Larry Simonson is. And so Larry Simonson and I are from the same hometown. Shelley mentioned I grew up in northeastern South Dakota. So Larry says I was his classmate, although he is just slightly older than I am. So the first Cultural Expo was held in 1963, and I joke with Larry that he probably attended that. But anyway, so that one was held. We found that he actually found that in a yearbook for us, which is fantastic. And so then our other really large event, so while at the expo, we have between 450 and 550 people usually on Saturday. And then Diwali is our second large, or our other large event, and that's usually the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and the India Students Club sponsors that. The first one of those was held in the early 1990s, and so that's been around for about 30 some odd years, and they usually get about 500 to 600 people for that. The last ones that were held, because you know, they weren't around for a couple of years because of COVID, we had just wall-to-wall people all the way out to the front end of Surbeck, so it was amazing. Then we do what we call the cultural etiquette dinner. That is something that is just for students on campus. And that is a mix of international students and American students at the same tables. We have seating arrangements. We did the first one back in 2005. We usually do that in October. And it is a way for us to help students learn how other cultures kind of mix and mingle at various events, and what's considered polite behavior, what's considered polite conversation, how do you properly eat at a table. And so those are all things that are important to make a good first impression for our students. Of course, deeper cultural learning is important as students travel around the world, but this is something just to kind of get them interested in it. And so it's a fun event. But again, it's about 50 to 60 students, and it's just, they really enjoy it because we have them choose a culture too. The American students choose a different country culture and read about that. We also have Chinese New Year, which is at the end of January. Chinese Student and Scholar Association does that. And then International Education Week is usually the same week before Diwali, so the week before Thanksgiving. And we have an international photo contest, which is just phenomenal. We have a lot of students who submit photos for that. We usually get between 30 and 40 photo submissions for that of places that our students have been. And those photos are just phenomenal. And so we do have them online on our website. And so if you want to know where those are, we can share that information with you when Shelley sends out the follow-up, because the students do a fantastic job. And of course, we encourage sponsorships for each of those events. But anyway, and here's just a brief overview of the culture, and that is Beth Riley in her mean mode in the middle there playing. She plays taiko drums, so she learned to do that when she was in Japan. But those are some pictures from this last year's expo, and so hopefully you would be interested in attending that if you're in the area. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Kushi Patel and give her the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing so she can talk. And go ahead, Kushi.
Thank you, Suzi. Hi, everyone. My name is Kushi Patel. I'm from Goa, India, and I'm a senior computer science student at Mines. Growing up, studying in the United States for my bachelor's degree never crossed my mind. However, I found out about STSMT through the Fomento Scholars Program. This program started back in 2014, thanks to Audit Timlo, a Mines alumnus himself, who wanted aspiring students from Goa to have the best-in-class education and opportunities, just like he did. The competitive program at Mines and the unique experience studying abroad would get me encouraged me to apply to this program. After their selection process, I was granted a scholarship, which, along with my SAT scholarship, eased the financial burden immensely. Being selected as a Fomento scholar was the main reason I was able to come and study at Mines. This was also my first time being in the United States, and it was a huge culture shock, even after watching all those Friends episodes. But the Ivanhoe International Center made the transition for me as easy as they possibly could. Suzi and Beth did this by organizing an additional orientation specifically for international students at the beginning of my first semester. They touched on topics like informing us to complete necessary steps so we don't accidentally break any laws, and talk about American etiquette to help us interact with fellow Americans easily, to name a few things. All year round, they have always been a quick office visit or email away from answering any of my questions. I would like to give a shout out to the incentive Suzi and Beth provide students with to visit their office in the form of candy, hot beverages, adorable stickers, and cake day every Thursday. This really helped me interact with them a lot more at the beginning of my freshman year, since I am slightly introverted. Because of this, it gets a little hard for me to make friends sometimes, so events and gatherings really help in easing the process of making new friends. The International Students Inc., or ISI for short, host dinners on Fridays that are sponsored by nearby churches, alumni, and more. And many international students like me gather to the house for delicious free food and to socialize with other students. ISI also organizes multiple free and paid events throughout the year to keep international students engaged. I especially enjoy the hikes organized during the summer and the beginning of the fall semester when the weather is still decently nice. ISI also provided me with a basket of goodies when I first arrived in the US, and it was filled with essentials like toothpaste and shampoo and American snacks like trail mix and cheddar crackers. And it really helped me out when I was trying to settle in after my long travel. ISI also organizes the Friendship Partner Program along with the help of the Ivanhoe Center. And I applied to this program my freshman year, and I was matched with the family that included me in their events and celebrations and exposed me to the American family culture and values. My friendship family has been like a home away from home. They've celebrated my birthday, driven me to places I needed to go to, like the grocery store or the bank, and even helped me practice my driving using their car. They also have a dog and a couple of cats, and it's always a delight to go over to their house to play with their pets. In return, I always make sure to invite them to big public events that take place at mines. For example, the Diwali event that's organized by the India Club, where this event showcases the Festival of Lights and educates the attendees about India through songs, dance, and games that happen throughout the event. The event ends with a bang with a fireworks display outside and amazing Indian food after. And the cultural expo that takes place in the spring semester. Students participate in the entertainment segment and cook food to showcase their home country for this event. These events give me a reason to dress up in my cultural outfits and showcase my culture, and I really enjoy them. I'm sad that this semester is my last expo as a student for a little bit because I'm graduating this May. I'll be working at a company in Rapid City right after graduation. And after working for a year or two, I'll be getting my master's degree in computer science, hopefully at Mines. Thank you for listening to me talk about my experience as an international student.
Thank you, Kushi. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to start sharing my screen again. So there we go. Okay. Well, if I can get going here. There we go. Okay. So the next thing we're going to talk about is education abroad, because we get students coming in, but we also have students going out. And I apologize, but my nose is itching for some reason. Somebody out there must be talking about me. But anyway, so what is education abroad? And we talk with students about this as well. So what is education abroad? Why is it important? What skills do students learn? How does it apply to their future career? Which is really the primary one, is how does it apply to their future career? And I just love the quote from Mark Twain, because honestly, this is the optimal time for students to travel abroad. And I'm just wondering how many of you who are on this call have traveled abroad or lived abroad for at least part of your career. And, having those cultural adjustment skills can really be critical to your future success. And so that's something that we're hoping to help our students gain as they go through. So getting involved in an education abroad experience is really beneficial for them. So first of all, what levels are they involved in? So we have students who go for a full year, semester, summer, spring break, short term, all kinds of different things. And so just a few go on the full year, or semester, but we have quite a few who go on the shorter term options as well. And so what do our students do? They do humanitarian projects. We've had students from our engineers and science abroad groups go to Liberia every year for the last after COVID and before that, and work on projects there. Of course, we have our geology and geological engineering field camps, which have been very popular all over the world. Language learning, students like to do total immersion language learning. Design teams, that's one that has been really popular in a few different areas, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Research, that's another one that's a great opportunity, and Jacob will talk about that when he comes on in a couple of minutes. International competitions, we have students in Australia right now working at the International Collegiate Mining Games, and so they are competing at that, and then be the mining and mucking team. And then of course, international conference conferences, and this semester a year abroad and more. And so where do our students go? They go almost anywhere. So these are all the places they've just been in the last couple of years. And of course, education abroad came to a grinding halt during the pandemic. So students started going abroad again in the, I think spring of 21, or it was our earliest one who went. And so or fall of 21, excuse me, that was the earliest one who went. So that's slowed us down quite a bit, but they're really starting to go again, and students are very, very interested. So we talk about academic recognition, and so not all the programs that students go on are for credit, but for those that are, we work with them very closely to make sure that they're getting the credit transfer prior to departure, making sure that they have that all their ducks in a row for that, and things are lined up. And so that's something that has been, for those of you who might have been here even 10 or 15 years ago, that was a challenge for us. So you may have heard about that. And then we also have the Global Engineering and Science minor and certificate, which is really unique. That's something that was developed by our civil engineering department a few years ago. And they had, and we've kind of helped with it a lot, and it's not just for civil students, it's for all students. And so this is something that students can complete. They have to have a multicultural or international design project. And then a lot of the courses that are required for the minor or the certificate they're already taking those courses. So it's a good one for them to try to complete for another credential. And then, of course, our academic programs that we have abroad, the geology and geological engineering field camps, and I've listed the places that they're going, which is really cool. And they have also been to the Himalayas in Nepal and the Andes in Ecuador. And so those are some really cool camps that they do. And then our design courses, we started off with it was like a freshman sophomore level course, the Intro to German Engineering, which was multidisciplinary. That ended in 2017, and we had some 25 students who participated in that before it was redesigned by our partner university in Germany. And then it came back as Inspired, and we had 8 students go to that. And so then the pandemic hit, and we haven't had students go since then. But with the Advanced Design Project, we run that every year. And so Dr. David Dixon is the primary force behind that. He has been the primary professor behind that one, and worked with our partner university in Germany on that program. And we have students going, and so far since 2015, we've had 122 students in the chemical and biological engineering department participate in that. And so they're chemical engineering students who are doing that, and it's a really a cool project that they get to go. They're back live this year. The last 2 years they were unable to go in person, and so they're there right now, and totally enjoying it and sharing some pictures with us as we go along. So that's really cool. We've also done the Advanced Design Project in Mongolia, and that was again prior to the pandemic. So hopefully that will restart. And that was in 2018 and 19, and that was a multidisciplinary project. So we had a bunch of different students on that, and that was a really cool project as well. So one of the things that we talk to students about is like, okay, what skills did you gain? And these are the skills that the students said that they gained and that they thought were the most valuable. And so we talk about that in their communication. I love the one that says how to work efficiently with power outages, because sometimes students in other countries, this one was particularly true of those students who are in Mongolia, because that's much more common to have a power outage in Mongolia than it is in Germany. But that's very common across the world. I know any of you who have ever traveled have probably run across that. And then, of course, the limited Wi-Fi access, and that's very common in some countries and not so common in others. So those are all things that students thought were important to learn to work with, because they get very frustrated when they're not able to do things that they rely on technology for. And then, of course, cultural awareness is always a big one. And then the team player. And so how do they learn to work in multicultural teams and international teams? So that's a big one. And then for our employers, we asked our employers, well, what do you think the students learned and those who were with them? And these are the things that employers mentioned that they thought that students had learned that really helped them in their career. So I think this is a really telling telling information about the skills that our students learn when they do education abroad. I mean, some students have those already, but getting in that education abroad and getting that that sense of I need to learn how to do this when I don't have any guidance necessarily, or I might have very little guidance is really important. So it brings out their initiative and their self-reliance and resilience and their problem solving skills. So I think it's a really beneficial way for students to learn. So with the success of our advanced design project, it led us to submitting a grant proposal. And so Dave Dixon submitted the grant proposal to the 100,000 Strong in Americas. And we're working with also the civil engineering department. So Jim Stone, the civil engineering department, on getting, and we were awarded the grant, and it's with an exchange partner, UPC in Peru. And so we're going to have students going back and forth under this program. And so we got funded for $36,000, and that is primarily for student travel. And so that's something that we think is really important for our students to be able to go and do and learning that. And what they're doing is basically it's a fog catcher system. And so they're harvesting fog for rainwater or for water. And so they'll use that, and it's in a very poor part of Peru. And so they are going to be using that for drinking water and for watering various, watering crops and things like that in that area. And so that's a need there to have that decent water that they can use. So that's what we're working with there. So with that, and then of course we want to continue to develop these, because the advanced design project programs are really popular with the students, because they're usually 2 to 3 weeks. And so they really find those helpful. They can do it for a short term, and they can also apply it to their programs. So that's something that we want to develop more of those. And of course, we would always welcome funding for that. So anyway, I'm going to introduce Jacob, and Jacob Fife and I met about a year ago. It's been about a year ago, hasn't it been, Jacob? Yeah, and Jacob said, well, I want to do something. I want to do an education abroad. And I was like, okay, well, let's try to figure out what you want to do. And he actually found something on his own, actually through his department and through one of his professors. And so they found a research experience for undergrads in France in the summer of 22. And Jacob, I'm going to go ahead and let you talk, but I'm going to pull up your pictures. So there we go.
Awesome. Can you hear me? Am I good? Okay. So yeah, I remember going into Suzi's office. I was eager to go abroad. I've never traveled. I thought it was gonna cost me an arm and a leg to get out there and just experience that. And she was very supportive. And yeah, I found this research experience through the University of Florida. It was from my faculty advisor that kind of told me to apply for it. So it was fully funded from the University of Florida. They paid for my travel expense to Paris and back. I was in Paris for 3 months working at Sorbonne University. I was as a chemist. I went as a chemist, not a chemical engineer. So I was doing some chemistry research and synthesizing some nanoparticles and doing certain things. I learned a lot through it. I really enjoyed it, obviously. And these pictures aren't obviously in France, so I did a lot of traveling. And like I travel, and I've never traveled before, so it was really crazy. Like I've never done like public transportation. Only done a few flights. Like I live in Phoenix, Arizona, so I go from Arizona to South Dakota. That's about it. So it was a shock all over the place, but I really enjoyed it. I love putting myself out there in a situation that I wasn't too comfortable with, but I never had a bad situation. I mean, I had a few. Not everything was perfect. I did get pickpocketed once, so that was great, but that wasn't actually great at all. But no, it was an overall great experience, and I'm so fortunate to have it, because I also remember being in Susan's office, just kind of like telling her like, yeah, I'm not getting any internships. I want to go abroad. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, nothing's happening. And she didn't really say, she just kept telling me to apply and just keep looking. And there's many options. Like, thankfully I got paid to do this, but I was very willing to not, get paid and just go abroad and do those things. And I didn't think I actually could go study abroad as a senior or something, because it's kind of far in your education. But to kind of segue from this, I was fortunately awarded the Brass Life Award for the 2022 Brass Life Award, which is amazing. I'm so excited. And I will be able to go abroad as a senior, which sounds kind of difficult, but I am very fortunate to be a chemical engineering student, where we have the advanced design project in Germany in the spring, which is when I would go abroad for my Brass Life Award. So it kind of just fits perfect. I get to go to Europe and get my senior design credit and still enjoy Europe and not have to worry about maybe finding a certain university that has your senior design credit, which has actually been kind of tough. I haven't really been able to find many universities that actually do that in Europe, which is kind of interesting, because in the United States it's pretty common. But yeah, I'm super excited for that. Right now, I'm planning to go to Budapest for my Brass Life abroad experience, and this is actually Budapest right here on our screen. I love their food. This is my favorite food, actually. I went to Italy. I went to Hungary. I went to the Czech Republic. I went to Austria, England, Ireland. I kind of went. It was awesome. I went to Spain. So and I never traveled, so it was amazing. And I actually do plan on possibly going to grad school abroad as well. So I'm just really excited. I don't really know, what to expect when I go travel abroad for school. It'll be a little different than work. I feel like it might be a little bit tougher, because when I worked abroad, I was kind of done after work and just kind of explored Paris and things. So it'll be a little interesting studying abroad, but it was awesome. Susan and Beth have really helped me throughout the way. And like, especially in the beginning, I had no idea where to go or what to do or anything. And they made the process really smooth. So I'm pretty fortunate. And we're all pretty fortunate to have them as a resource. So that was awesome.
Thank you, Jacob. Yeah, obviously Jacob had a great experience, which is fantastic. He also mentioned the Brass Life Award, and I saw that Lauren is on this call. So hello, Lauren, and thank you for sponsoring that. The LIFE stands for Leadership, Involvement, and Foreign Experience. And so that's a scholarship for students, and for a 3-semester, and 1 semester has to be study abroad. And so they're very generous with that, and we appreciate that for support for our students. It's a great opportunity for them. So that is all I have for now. So what questions do we have here? If I can get to the right slide.
I just say, do you want me to read them out to you, or you want to read them out?
You can go ahead.
All right. I saw there were several, and now I'm showing none of them. Beth, do you see them?
I didn't see any at all.
Oh, I thought I saw 6. One got answered. Well, why don't we do this while you guys, it says it doesn't say it's enabled. So I apologize. Let me figure out what we need to do to make sure chat is enabled.
It wasn't enabled right when you said that, but I enabled the chat feature just a few seconds late. So it should be
Okay.
Everybody
So
now.
we'll do this while we give you guys a chance to ask some questions. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I want to remind everyone we've got Trivia Mafia coming up. It's on the 22nd, Wednesday the 22nd, and it is for both students and alumni in campus to join. This is a great way to get a group together, especially if you're like Jacob, a senior, and some of your friends maybe have graduated. Get them involved, and you guys can all join together as a team and go for the bragging rights of being the smartest group that we have. And during that night, we'll also have some giveaways. And I do also want to show that in the next couple weeks, we have several events happening. So for everyone that's on here, if you are in any of these areas in San Diego or Omaha, Rapid City, Phoenix, Tucson, Portland, Seattle, or the Twin Cities, we have events coming up the next 2 weeks. So check them out on our either our Facebook page, or you can go to our CARA website down here. We have our events all loaded up in there. And the other thing I want to welcome you guys all to do is when we have our if you come back to visit this summer or anytime throughout the year to see campus, make sure you check out our website and see if we have a local alumni event that you can join us, because we do about 2 to 3, sometimes 4 a month here in the Black Hills area, and we'd love for you to have you join us. All right, there appears that we got a couple questions, so I'm going to go ahead and answer or read those to you, Ms. Suzi.
All right.
All right.
So Go ahead.
There used to be lots of Norwegian students in the 70s and 80s. When and why did that change?
Yes, there sure were. And I get this question a lot. And I know exactly why it changed. So one of the things, first of all, I want to point out that some of our Norwegian alums have done a book about the Norwegians. It's called Dreams of Rapid. And so they have actually done a book, which is really cool. They have translated it into English. And I think, are we going to be selling them, Shelley? Or
We sure are. Yes.
Okay. So
we
we're
have
getting
100 of
150?
them coming to us.
100 of them coming.
Yep.
So it's been translated into English. So if you want a copy of those, reach out to Shelley because she'll know more about that. So there were three things that happened with the Norwegians. So this is the reason they're no longer on the School of Mines campus. And so they were, first of all, in the late 90s, I want to say 98, 99. There was the CAP exam. Okay, so that the Board of Regents put that into effect, and as students came in, in order to graduate, they had to have successfully passed the CAP exam. That has since been done away with, but anyway, it was kind of a hindrance to them because those Norwegian students often came in as a junior or even a senior, and immediately had to take that CAP exam, and it was a weird thing. It was called the Rising Junior Exam. So that was one of the things that happened. Another thing that happened was that it's called the Bologna Accords, and so all across Europe, and during the European Union, because it had been recently formed at that point in time, they came up with a scheme or an idea to have all universities basically across Europe be uniform, have kind of a uniform education. So it was easier. It was called the mobility agreement. And so it was basically, they all went to a 3-year bachelor, 2-year master, because most of them have like the first year of college and high school already. But so they went to a 3-year bachelor, 2-year master, and they encouraged students to go within Europe and do that. And so go from university to university. We had a master's student from Norway come in and say he got his bachelor's degree and he attended 3 different universities besides his original university. And so they made that a lot easier there. So a lot of students ended up going there. There was also competition from Australia and New Zealand and the white sand beaches, and it's kind of hard to compete with that sometimes. And then the other thing is that the loaning, the Lånekasse is what it's called. So their government loans became a little bit differently structured. And at that point, they were encouraging them not to go for a full degree, but to go for an exchange. So for a semester, 2 semesters, much like they were doing in Europe. And so those are all things that happened to it. And it really caused our numbers to just plummet. And I am going to share my screen, and it's kind of a depressing screen, but I am going to share it. So it's just this, I'm just going to show this one, and I think you can see that, right? Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So you can see that where we were at our high here in the early 90s, and then we've just really gone down. We do still get students. As exchange students from Norway, and occasionally get a degree seeking student, but mostly they're exchange students because we do still have exchange agreements in place with some of our counterparts in Norway. So, okay. Sorry, I went on.
That was great. No, and I have to
Okay.
say this, at the last homecoming, we had alum that was from Norway that graduated here, both his undergraduate and master's degree, Hans, and
Yeah.
his wife showed up and they stopped by campus. It was great. And then they joined in on all our activities. I do want to say a shout out to Newt down in Austin, Texas. He is our alum that translated the Norwegian book to English for the group. So
Yeah.
we will watch your e-news, because as soon as we have them here on campus and priced, we will let you know how to order those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have students pop in every now and then too, and we've had some of the students, our alumni, who have had their children come here, and they're actually U.S. citizens or permanent residents, and they still come and connect with us when they stop back in. So
Which
that's
we love.
awesome.
We love it when they come through.
We do,
So
yeah.
yes. All right. We have one more question. It says, tell us more about the short-term spring break length opportunities out there.
The spring, okay, so we have, like I said, we have right now we have the students who are in advanced design project. We have another student who I believe is in, I want to say in Belgium. Is that right, Beth? Do you remember? he brought that. Yeah, there was a student. He's doing he's with University Christian Fellowship doing an experience in
Yes, it's
Belgium, I
Belgium.
believe. Yeah, Belgium. Thank you. And then we also have, we have students who, of course, travel internationally. I know that geology used to have a spring break trip that every other year was international, but I haven't seen that recently, unfortunately. So I don't know if they'll start that again. But the short-term experiences, a lot of those, like our Engineers and Scientists Abroad program, or it's actually an official student group on campus, a student organization, and they actually do humanitarian projects abroad, which are fantastic. They, like I said, they were in Liberia. I think this year they're going to South America as well. And so they actually they do projects, and they do the project management from start to finish. And we always encourage our students to get involved in that, because it's the students doing it. It's not the faculty or their advisors doing it. It's all the students. And they, like I said, that project management from start to finish is phenomenal for them. And they also do a lot of fundraising on their own. And so the students who participate in those pay very little to go abroad. They might have to pay up to $500 each, but that's usually it. And they go and they do the work, and they make sure they have the skills to do the work. They develop the projects and design the projects, and then they also implement them and do the work as well. So. Okay, did that answer your questions?
That was great. My daughter is actually going this summer with that group, traveling down to, yes. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful for it.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different options. We have students who go and might do a couple of courses at a university through a partner provider, or through a program provider that we partner with. And so there's just a ton of different options, especially in summer, that they can do for a class or two, and then have like the cultural aspect of it as well.
Absolutely. All right.
So Suzi,
Go ahead.
there was quite a few number of Chinese students in the 1980s. So I think you had a slide in there about the Chinese students as well, if you wanted to show that.
Yep, I do.
There was a question, there was just a comment about that.
Yep. So I'm going to share that, and everybody can see that right here. So we had a large number. This is like an 89, 90. Okay. So that number peaked up there. We had about 90 of them at that point in time. And then they've come down quite a bit since then. And so part of that, of course, and they had Tiananmen Square in 1989, which affected the number of students coming in. And then our diplomatic relations with China really kind of went down from there and throughout the 90s. And so they don't say they're doing this, but as a result, our students were not getting visas to come from China unless they were fully funded by the university. And we did not have a lot of fully funded students at that point in time. So those numbers went down over the years. And so that was, we used to have a very large number from China, but that number has dropped significantly. Now, if you look across the country, China is one of the largest sending countries in the United States at the numbers, but those numbers are going to be coming down as well. And one of the things is that we do not actively recruit in China, or we don't travel for recruiting. We do most of it electronically. So we do some virtual things. We have some profiles on different websites. And so if you're in an area where you have students who are interested, hey, happy to talk to you. And we would, anytime you want to talk to potential students or provide them, we can reach out to them because we would love to see those students, and we would love to have you talk to them, because I think that's one way for students to get really interested in School of Mines is from our alumni, because you are great ambassadors for the university, and we would appreciate anybody that you can send to us. We'd be happy to talk to them.
Excellent. Well, I just want to say thank you everyone for attending today's Lunch and Learn, and thank you to Suzi, Beth, Cushy, and Jacob for sharing with us today, and for all the work that you ladies do over there to help support our students on campus and our students across the world that are learning, and especially as we become a more global world, this is so very important. I again want to remind everyone that this event has been recorded, and we will follow up with an email from Suzi and Beth with the link for you to view again, or to share with your colleagues or with your fellow alumni that have graduated. I put a survey in this chat. If you have a moment, please fill it out. I'm always looking for what our alumni and campus is interested in learning about next. As I mentioned, we have quite a few upcoming alumni events. I'd love to hear from you if you would like to have one in your area. And the best way to find out about what's happening on campus or happening with our alumni is to like our Facebook page or our LinkedIn page. We're sharing it there constantly. Make sure we have your updated email and your updated mailing address, because we're about to send out a Hard Rock magazine to your house. So I'm excited for that to come out here in May. Again, thank you all. Oh,
And I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody. And so I've seen several really nice comments in the chat. And so thank you for everybody. I really appreciate those. And so, yeah, we'll hopefully we'll continue to keep in touch. So.
absolutely. Well, thank you all. I hope you have a great the rest of your day. And if you're in the sunshine, send us some our way. We need it. So thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.